This video is about checkmate in 2, and the current position is black to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to spot the continuation in this position, so here we have to grab our checklist and have it ready for us. So we're always looking for the forceful moves first, so any checks, captures, attacks. Any checks in the position, and we can try to imagine, try to think in our heads, or draw some arrows if we're on the computer or the phone. So we'll be able to do something like Queen D2, check, Queen D1, check, and Queen A3, check. We need to keep in mind that the queen is protected by the rook, so if we were to give any checks here on D2 or D1, the king cannot just capture the queen because it's defended by the rook. So if we were to bring the queen to D2, we can notice that the king can actually just go to B1 and run away. And then we would be able to give other checks or something, but then they can just push the pawn forward or just repeat moves, bring the king back to where it was. If we were to bring the queen to D1, the king, like same idea, right? So the king will be able to hide between the pawns and we would have to give other checks or something. And then they can even cover up with the rook or something like that. So we need to be precise with this exercise here. We need to find the move Queen A3 check. The idea of Queen A3 is that it forces the king to have only one square available because the rook is covering the whole D file here. So the response for white pieces will be King B1, and after this we can just finish the game by bringing our rook to D1, and this will be Rook D1 checkmate. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. Were you able to spot the continuation in this position? So here we're also looking for checkmate in 2, right? So we have to look for the forceful moves first. Any checks in the position. So we actually have a few checks, right? If we were to bring the rook here, if we were to capture the bishop with our queen, if we were to bring our queen here on F6, and also if we were to bring our queen to E7. So it's always good to draw the arrows or think in our head of the different possibilities, right? Even if they're crazy, because sometimes crazy helps us. So here we have to look into, if the rook were to come here to H7, they can just capture us with the knight or with the king even. If we were to just capture the bishop, they can just capture back with the king or with the knight as well. If we were able to give a check here with the queen, they can always just cover with the bishop or even bring their king back to G8. So we have to be precise here and look at, and we need to find actually this move, Queen F6, Queen F6 check. The good thing about this move is it's looking along the diagonal here on H8. And then only move for the black pieces will be to bring the king to G8. And then we don't even take the bishop because it's defended by the knight, but we actually finish the game with Rook H8 checkmate. We are able to cover all the squares here for the black king. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. Were you able to spot the continuation in this position? So we're also looking for checkmate in 2 in this exercise, right? So we have to look for the forceful moves first. Any checks that we have in the position, we have queen grabs pawn, but then they can just grab us back with the pawn. We also have queen E6, but then they can just also grab us with the pawn. So that doesn't really help. What about knight E3? That comes with the check, but then the rook can just capture us here. So we need to look at the last check here in the position, which is a very powerful move. Knight F6 check. The idea of this move is that it opens up the diagonal of the queen, so the queen is protecting here the F3 square, so there's no escape square for the king here. Also keeping in mind that the movement of the knight here on F6 also covers here along the H5 square. So all the pawns are also covering the rest of the squares here, so only move for the black pieces would be King F5. After King F5, since the knight is covering here this square, it's also covering the E4 square that was being covered by the queen before. So now we can finish the game with Queen D7 checkmate. There are no other squares for the king to move, so that would just be checkmate against the black pieces.